it is good that we're at least talking about the Falcons in this situation because that is where the first Tennessee draft prospect went to in the NFL draft. James Pearce selected at number 26 overall by the Atlanta Falcons on Thursday night. And this was an interesting decision by the Falcons to trade back into the first round because they had already drafted, was it Jalen Walker from Georgia in the first round? So they already had him, and they traded back into the first round to get James Pearce. I don't know why exactly they felt the need to do that, but they did it. And look, we knew James Pearce had first-round talent. It was just a matter of whether or not he would be selected in the first round because you got all these narratives going on about obviously the off-field stuff, which I don't know how true most of that is. And then there are some other parts of his game, too, that I can understand why some teams may be a little bit turned off by that. But overall, I think the Falcons have assembled a very nice roster. They just need some things to click at the quarterback position, right? Like Michael Penix is now basically in year 1.5 as the starter there. And he did some good things last year down the stretch. It's just, you'd like to see him get a full season under his belt. But overall, I think that's a nice selection by the Falcons. Just a bit of an interesting decision to trade back into the first round.
Yeah, honestly, I love the decision because we were mentioning earlier how I'm a Colts fan and I grew up in the days where Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis were tearing stuff up in the NFL and wreaking havoc. And they were around the same age when they came to the Colts. I think they were maybe 1 or 2 years apart. So I like the idea of getting proven pass rushers in the same draft. Like I feel like defensive end / like edge rushers is arguably one of the most important positions in winning football games. So I like the idea that the Falcons traded back and did that because they could wreak havoc on defensive line if James Pearce and Walker live up to their potential. I mean, they could cause fits in the backfield, but if one of them doesn't even pan out, at least you got another one too that you could just plug right in there. I mean, the best thing would be if they both knock it out of the park, but you can at least get one good guy out of them.
Yeah, and I like, again, I really, really like the roster that they've assembled down there in Atlanta. It's just whether or not they can get everything to gel on offense, I would say, because the talent is good, and it has been for a couple of seasons. They just, again, needed a quarterback to help them out. And looking at that division overall, the Bucs are beatable. I know they've won that division a couple of years in a row. Don't really love what's going on in New Orleans right now, just with the quarterback situation. I don't know if Tyler Shuck is that good of a quarterback, which is part of the reason why the Shedeur fall off is so crazy. Is like, is he really worse than a guy that's 27 years old taking his first snap of NFL football? Like, are we sure about this? But you look on the defensive end for Atlanta, it like you've already got a name in Leonard Floyd, who Georgia fans and Falcons fans will probably know well. I do remember, I guess that was 2015 where he had that, was it an interception or was it a scoop and score up here at Neyland Stadium? Something like that. Tennessee won the game though, so it's all good. But I do remember that play, unfortunately. Let's see, what other names? Ruke Ohoro. I think that's how you pronounce his name, from Clemson. He's a pretty nice player as well on that defensive front. So you've got some proven talent up there. It's just a question now of how he fits into the system in Atlanta if you're James Pearce. And good to see another Vol go in the first round, because there was a stretch of time where you were lucky to see Vols just get taken in the NFL draft. And then there have been some years where, it might just be 1 or 2 guys. But I think it's great to have first round picks. It does a lot for your program. And this is the second one in the last 3 years, as Darnell Wright was drafted by the Bears back in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get another first rounder. I think this is Tennessee's 48th first round pick taken since the NFL draft has went on. Of course, you want to see that happen as much as you can. Bragging rights, being able to claim as many players as you can going into the league. I mean, if you can't win SEC championships or can't win your bowl games, at least you got something like that to fall back on. So, I mean, I think it's good for James Pearce. We'll have to see how everything ends up. and how he fits with the system. But I mean, I just like the idea of having multiple edge rushers, especially like, and we saw how Tennessee's been able to do the past couple seasons with all their rotational guys. I feel like the more the merrier when it comes to like defensive line. Like, get as much as you can out of that. Same with the receivers too.
Yeah, although there is one thing I will ask you on that note, Jordan, because it could have hurt James Pearce's draft stock this year. I don't know if it actually did, but is the fact that Tennessee has all of these guys that can plug and play on the defensive line, is that hurting production? Is that drawing the interest maybe towards some other guys from other teams instead of Tennessee, just because, you can be a stud and just rack up all kinds of numbers, and obviously numbers aren't everything, right? But maybe you just don't get to play as much, so teams don't see you nearly as much that year because you got all the other talent around you. Is that a bit of a problem?
Well, I feel like if they're good enough, to play in the NFL, scouts will realize that. If these players aren't getting looked at by scouts because they're not getting as many reps because they're part of a rotational system, then like I just feel like they're not doing their jobs as a scout, being able to properly analyze the players, because it's more than just statistics, especially for like a position like defensive line, because you got like pressure rates, you got all these other stuffs. I mean, you can still help stop a play without even making a tackle. Just fitting in the right hole and everything can change everything during a play.